In this section, we want to look at rounding numbers. I've written the rules for rounding over here on the board. Number one, we want to look at the digit to the right of the place we are rounding to. Number two, if that digit is less than 5, we replace it and all the digits to its right with zeros. On the other hand, if it's 5 or more, we replace it and all digits to its right with zeros, and we add 1 to the digit to its left. Let's see what this looks like when we try some actual problems. Here's our first one. We want to round to the nearest 10. Okay, so according to our rule, we'll go over here to the tens column. I look to the number to the right. It's 5 or bigger, so I'm going to replace this with a 0 and add 1 to this number. So this is going to be 460 to the nearest 10. Our next problem, 471. I want to round to the nearest 10. That's this column right here. I go to the digit just to its right. It's a 1. That's less than 5, so I'm going to replace it with a 0 and leave this digit alone. So this is 470 to the nearest 10. And that's true. 471 is 470 to the nearest 10. Likewise, 458 is 460 to the nearest 10. Let's look at another problem. Round to the nearest 100. I look over here in the hundreds column and I have an 8. I go to the digit just to its right. It's less than 5, so I'll replace it and all the other ones to its right with zeros, and I'll leave this digit just as it is. So when I round, I end up with 800. That's the rounded version of this, where I round to the nearest 100. I look at my next number down here, 899. I want to round to the nearest 100. I go to the digit just to its right. It happens to be bigger than 5, so I'm going to replace it and all the other digits to its right with zeros, and I'm going to add 1 to this digit. So when I round that number, 899, to the nearest 100, of course it comes out 900. But you expect that, right? 899 is almost 900. Likewise, 833 is really closer to 800 than it is to 900. So this method of rounding, we always go to the digit just to the right of the digit we're rounding to, and that's what we look at. It doesn't matter what comes after that. Here's some more problems. Let's round to the nearest 10, 100, and 1,000. And I have, first of all, this number, 7,821. To the nearest 10, I go to this digit. I look, this is the digit I want to round to. I go to the one just to its right. It's a 1, so I simply replace it with a 0 and leave the 2 alone. To the nearest 100, okay, I'm going to go over here. That's an 8. I look to its right. That digit is a 2, which is less than 5, so I'll replace it and the one next to it with zeros and leave this 8 alone. So 7,800. Now to the nearest 1,000, that's this column right here. I go to the digit to the right. It's an 8. That's bigger than 5. I replace all these with zeros and add 1 to this digit. So to the nearest 1,000, that number, 7,821, rounds to 8,000. So 7,821 to the nearest 10 is this, to the nearest 100 is this, and to the nearest 1,000 is this. How about 5,999? When I round to the nearest 10, okay, that's the tens digit right there. I go to its right. That 9 is bigger than 5. I replace it with a 0, and I add 1 to this digit. That makes this a 10. Carry the 1. That makes 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1, I get 6. So 6,000 when I round to the nearest 10. Now I'll round to the nearest 100. Okay, that's this digit right here. To its right is a 9. I replace it and all the ones to its right with zeros, and I add 1 to this digit. Again, I get 6,000. And when I round to the nearest 1,000, that's this column. I go to the number just to the right. That's a 9. Add 1, and I get 6,000. So it doesn't matter how we round 5,999, whether it's to the nearest 10, 100, or 1,000, we end up with 6,000. Now let's go on and try another problem. We want to estimate by rounding each number to the nearest 100. So that means I want to estimate what this sum is. I don't want to add all the numbers up. I just want to start this process of estimation, and I'm going to do it by rounding each of these to the nearest 100 and then adding what I get. So to the nearest 100, 750 is 800. To the nearest 100, 275 is 300. And to the nearest 100, 120 is 100. So when I do that, you see, it's real easy to get an estimate of what this answer is. Now, what I get right here is not the answer to this problem, but it's a good estimate of it. So I'll add 8 and 3 and 1, and I'll end up with 1,200. So I know if I was working this problem on a calculator or something like that, if I didn't get a number close to 1,200, I'd have to go back and look for a mistake somewhere. So as far as estimating is concerned, rounding is a good thing to be able to do. I can round these numbers even mentally and say 800 plus 300 plus 100, add those up, I end up with 1,200. That's a good estimate of the answer to that problem.